Just
Do you have any guns on you at all?
No, sir. It's leaning up
Okay.
against the side of my car.
Okay. You're fine, man. You're fine. Turn around for me.
I don't have any.
Okay. Yes, sir. I see that. Okay. This is your wife and son?
And son.
Okay.
It's bad. It's bad. Check the pulses.
Yes, sir.
He was born into power, untouchable for generations. But on one summer night in 2021, everything changed. His wife and son gunned down on their own property, and the man who built his life inside the courtroom was suddenly the one on trial. How did a respected attorney become a convicted murderer? This is the fall of Alex Murdaugh. For nearly a century, the Murdaugh name echoed through the Lowcountry like an unspoken law. Hampton County, South Carolina, a quiet stretch of rural land where the trees hang heavy with moss and the air carries secrets like whispers, had always been their kingdom. The Murdaugh family wasn't just respected, they were the law. 3 generations of men wore the title of solicitor, shaping justice across 5 counties. Their red brick courthouse stood like a monument to a legacy built on power, money, and influence. And in the middle of it all stood Alex Murdaugh, the man everyone thought was next in line to carry the torch. He didn't grow up hungry for power. He was born into it, raised in a world where doors open without knocking, where consequences could be softened with a name. His father, Randolph Murdaugh III, was the kind of man people nodded to with quiet respect. His family owned the biggest personal injury law firm in the region. And everyone, friends, judges, police, even criminals, knew what that name meant. Alex married Maggie in 1993. She was warm, kind, the sort of woman who filled a house with light. They had 2 sons, Buster and Paul. To outsiders, they looked like a family with everything: money, influence, and a legacy most could only imagine. Summers were spent on boats, winters in hunting fields. The Moselle estate stretched across 1,770 acres of woods, rivers, and open fields. It looked idyllic, a picture of the American South. But beneath that perfect image, quiet fractures were forming. Paul, their youngest son, was charismatic, funny, reckless. He loved the outdoors, loved being the center of attention. Maggie adored him, and Alex often called him his best friend. But Paul also drank too much, and that recklessness would come to define everything. Buster, the oldest, was quieter, the heir apparent, expected to follow in his father's footsteps: law school, the firm, the family name. Maggie loved being a mother. She filled the Moselle home with warmth. Her friends described her as loyal, grounded, the kind of woman who made others feel safe. She loved the open spaces of their land, loved her dogs, loved the family traditions that shaped their world. And Alex wore 2 faces. In public, he was a respected attorney, the man who represented victims, who shook hands with sheriffs, who walked into courtrooms with confidence carved into his posture. But in private, Alex was slowly being eaten alive, by addiction, by lies, by the weight of secrets only he knew. In February 2019, everything began to unravel. Paul was 19 when he took the family boat out one night with his friends. He'd been drinking. Witnesses would later say he was visibly intoxicated. Around 2 a.m., the boat slammed into a bridge piling. In the chaos, 19-year-old Mallory Beach was thrown into the water. Her body was found days later. Paul was charged with boating under the influence causing death and injury. He pleaded not guilty, awaiting trial. For the first time, the Murdaugh name appeared not as protector, but as shield. The family faced public scrutiny, and people whispered what they'd been too afraid to say before, that maybe the Murdaugh power didn't just protect, maybe it corrupted. Meanwhile, Alex was living a life the public didn't see. He had developed a powerful addiction to opioids. He was misappropriating money from clients, millions of dollars over the years. He knew the walls were closing in, but he kept smiling for the world, pretending everything was fine. And Maggie? She tried to hold the family together, tried to keep their boys safe, their image intact. But no one could stop the storm that was coming. June 7, 2021. A Monday night. The sun had set over Moselle, casting the estate in that soft, golden hue only summer in the South can create. Maggie and Paul were at the property that evening. Paul was near the dog kennels, filming a friend's dog for Snapchat, A small, ordinary moment no one could have guessed would later become a crucial piece of evidence. Maggie had been text messaging friends. Nothing seemed out of place. At 8:44 p.m., Paul recorded that Snapchat video. In the background, his father's voice can be heard. Calm. Familiar. Alex Murdaugh was there minutes before his family was shot dead. Sometime between 8:49 and 8:53 p.m., Paul was shot twice with a 12-gauge shotgun. Maggie was shot multiple times with a .300 blackout rifle. Both died instantly. At 10:07 p.m., Alex Murdaugh called 911. His voice was shaking. He told dispatchers he had found his wife and son near the kennels, covered in blood. He said he had been visiting his sick mother at the time of the murders. Within hours, police and SLED agents flooded the property. 2 people dead. A powerful family's name now marked with blood. In the beginning, few imagined Alex could be involved. He was, after all, a Murdaugh. But the evidence didn't care about names. Investigators seized firearms, examined phone records, and pieced together the timeline. They found gunshot residue on Alex's clothing, on his hands, on the vehicle he had driven that night. They pulled cell phone and vehicle telemetry data. And most importantly, they analyzed that Snapchat video. The timestamp placed Alex at the kennels minutes before the murders. His earlier statement to police, claiming he hadn't been there, was a lie. The image of the grieving husband and father began to crack. As investigators dug deeper, they found more than blood. They found money, missing money. Millions siphoned from clients and the family law firm. They uncovered years of deception hidden beneath the polished name. Alex's world of secrets was collapsing from all sides. Then came the incident on the side of the road. On September 4th, 2021, Alex called 911 again, claiming he'd been shot in the head by a stranger while changing a tire. But the story didn't hold up. Within days, authorities discovered he had hired a man named Curtis Edward Smith to shoot him in a staged suicide plot. The goal? Let Buster collect $10 million in life insurance. Alex survived with a superficial wound. And this time, the whispers turned into headlines. The once untouchable attorney now stood at the center of a web of fraud, addiction, deception, and now murder. The murders of Maggie and Paul didn't just expose Alex. They opened old wounds. SLED reopened the investigation into the 2015 death of Stephen Smith, a young man found on a road not far from Murdaugh property. His death had been ruled a hit and run, but many in the community had long suspected otherwise. Then came the housekeeper, Gloria Satterfield. In 2018, she died after reportedly tripping and falling at the Murdaugh home. Alex had told her sons there was an insurance policy for them. But years later, they discovered they had received nothing, while Alex had taken the settlement funds for himself. Each revelation painted a clearer picture. This was not a man whose world fell apart overnight. It had been crumbling for years. On July 14, 2022, Alex Murdaugh was arrested and charged with the murders of his wife Maggie and son Paul. He also faced over 100 financial and fraud-related charges. The prosecution laid out their theory.
That's not what you said, so just to be clear.
Well, the real reason, Mr. Murdaugh, is that you as a lawyer and prosecutor are up at 9:02, finally having your phone in your hand, moving around and making all these phone calls to manufacture an alibi. Is that not true?
That's absolutely incorrect.
So that's just another circumstance and coincidence in this particular case. Right around the time that you lied to law enforcement about maybe one of the most important facts in the case.
Comment before the question.
It is an absolute fact that I am not manufacturing an alibi, as you say.
How do you remember so much detail about everything else, but you don't remember what you were specifically doing to generate 283 steps while you're making all these phone calls in the same 4-minute period?
I remember unequivocally, without any doubt, with as clear a mind as I could have at any time, that I never manufactured any alibi in any way, shape, or form, because I did not and would not hurt my wife and my child.
So why
So
can't
I
you
know
remember
for a
what
fact
you were doing?
that I never, ever, ever created an alibi.
Why don't you remember what you were doing when you were so busy for this 4-minute critical period?
I do
Other
remember
than
what I was doing.
Other than I was getting ready to go.
Well, that's because that's what I was doing.
Kind of details is that you jetted down there, you dealt with the chicken, and jetted right back.
No, sir. No, sir. I didn't jet down there, and I didn't jet back. I got up after Maggie asked me to leave. After Maggie asked me to go with her, and I didn't. I got up. I went and got on a golf cart. I drove down there. I did what I did. I said I'm leaving or something to those words, and I went back.
All right. Well, if it's about 8:46, if the kennel video ends at 8:45 and 45 seconds, and it's about 8:46, we at least can see that maybe it was about a minute before you got on that golf cart and headed back. Just reasonable real life.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it was that long, but maybe, sure.
All right. So.
But I don't think it was that long. I mean,
All right, well, how long do you
exactly
think it
what I
was,
thought
Mr.
was going to be
Murdaugh?
going on at that kennel, why I didn't want to go there to begin with, is exactly what was going on.
Yeah. Well, I get that. Again,
And I left.
are these also convenient facts in your new story that have to fit with the timeline now that that evidence has been thrown in your face?
No, sir.
Does that sound like real life to you, that you jet down there and jet back, Mr. Murdaugh?
Mr. Waters, as I just told you, I didn't get on my golf cart and jet down there. I didn't jet back.
The reason why you have to be so fuzzy about these details.
Mr. Waters, hang on.
Just answer before another question is presented.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Just a
answering your
moment.
question.
Just a moment. Are you responding to the last question?
Yes, sir. I'm responding to your question, and you're using words that I'm not using. And that's your
Do you agree
categorization.
I'm entitled to ask my questions to you, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm going to answer them. All I'm saying is I'm taking issue with the manner in which you're changing what I'm saying.
So you
And
disagree this is a new story? You disagree with that characterization?
yes, this is the first time that this is being told openly.
And you disagree to my characterization that you've got a photographic memory about the details that have to fit now that you know these facts, but you're fuzzy on the other stuff that complicates that. You disagree with that?
I do disagree with that.
Alex was cornered. His financial crimes were days from exposure. His world, his reputation, his wealth, his carefully built image was collapsing. So they said he killed his wife and son to buy time, to create sympathy, to change the narrative. The defense claimed he was a loving husband and father being framed, that he was flawed, but not a murderer. But the evidence was merciless. The Snapchat video, the cell phone records, the gunshot residue, the lies. January 25th, 2023. The trial began in Walterboro, South Carolina. The nation watched. Prosecutors painted a portrait of a man drowning in his own deceit, willing to destroy the people closest to him to save himself. Witness after witness took the stand. Law enforcement officers, friends, digital experts, even Alex's own family. Then Alex himself testified. He admitted to lying about his whereabouts that night. He admitted to stealing money. He admitted to his opioid addiction. But he denied the murders.
But I'm innocent. I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my wife, Maggie, and I would never, under any circumstances, hurt my son, Paw.
I would never hurt Maggie and Paul, he said. The jury listened. The world listened. And after weeks of testimony, closing arguments, and evidence, they took less than 3 hours to decide. Guilty on all counts. March 3rd, 2023. Judge Clifton Newman sentenced Alex Murdaugh to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole.
Well, and it might not have been you. It might have been the monster you become when you take 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 opioid pills. Maybe you become another person. In the murder of your wife, Maggie Murdaugh, I sentence you for the term of the rest of your natural life. For the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably loved so much, I sentence you to prison for murdering him. for the rest of your natural life.
In that quiet courtroom, a century-old empire finally crumbled. The name that once commanded power now carried only shame. But the story didn't end with the murder convictions. Alex still faced dozens of financial crime charges. In September 2023, he pleaded guilty to 22 federal charges, including bank fraud, wire fraud, and money laundering. His legal troubles stretch years into the future. His empire is gone. His law license revoked. His family name forever stained. Buster, his surviving son, has publicly defended his father, maintaining his innocence in the murders. But for the wider community, the illusion of untouchable power has been shattered. The reopened investigations into Stephen Smith's death and Gloria Satterfield's case continue to unfold, pulling at threads that might reveal even more. Alex Murdaugh sits in a maximum security prison in South Carolina, serving life without parole. The man born into power now lives in a concrete cell. Power can protect, but it can also rot from within. This was not just a story of murder. It was a story of how a legacy can blind a family, a community, even a system. How man can hide behind a name for years until the truth claws its way out. Maggie and Paul were more than names in a courtroom. A mother, a son, two lives cut short not by strangers, but by someone they trusted most. And Alex, a man who once stood as a protector of others, who spent his life in courtrooms, became a defendant in his own tragedy. The story forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. What happens when power isn't questioned? When names outweigh truth? When the walls built to protect also hide the rot inside? Legacies are fragile things. They can be inherited. They can be built. And they can be destroyed, sometimes by the hands of those who hold them closest. Alex Murdaugh's fall isn't just a crime story. It's a warning that no name, no power, no money can bury the truth forever. That the cost of lies will always find its way home. If this story moved you, if it made you pause, remember, behind every headline, there are real lives, real people, and real consequences. Share this story if you believe truth should never be silenced by power. And subscribe if you want to hear more stories that dig beneath the surface. Because sometimes, the loudest truths are the ones whispered in the dark.